I'm going to launch straight into the single and say Wiley Blue is the name of a bull.
Yes.
What role did that bull play in your life?
Well, he played somewhat back sort of seat role for me. He was pretty important in the man I was with at the time that was riding him. That was the bull that he rode the first time I watched him ride. And that was at the Broome Rodeo a couple years back. He pulled that bull out of the draw the night before, and it said Bucking Bull of the Year, Wiley Blue. And we were thinking, oh, I think this one's going to be a good little ride. And I wanted to capture that experience and the feeling of standing there on the other side of the rail watching him completely heart-stopped, time standing still, that sort of experience. But then I also wanted to go a little bit further and to capture what that meant to him and what rodeo means for so many people that are in that world. It's not just that ride, it's a bigger lifestyle, it's families, it's generations sometimes. So yeah, I hoped to capture a bit broader. And I started joking recently when I play the song live. I go like, oh, the bull ride is a bit of a metaphor for the relationship. It didn't last long, but I got this beautiful song and this experience from it. And now the song means to me that love for rodeo, which is my favorite sport. So
Oh, right. So did you, I'm guessing you grew up going to rodeo because of where you grew up.
We grew up, so we went to rodeos as kids, sort of sparsely in Broome. They weren't so much of a thing when I was on the farm. We did pony club and had horses, but rodeo, I don't remember rodeo so much as having shows. And then when we moved to the Kimberley, we would go to the rodeo. And as an adult living in remote areas, you would always go to the rodeo when it was on. And I think somewhere along the lines, I've never been a sport person, but I realized that I really loved this sport, but in my head I was like, it's only once a year I get to watch it, and then I realized I can just follow it all year round. So I've realized that I don't hate sports, I just didn't find the sport I liked to watch.
Fair enough. I did work on a book with the Professional Bull Riders of Australia years ago, so I got to interview a lot of bull riders.
Yeah.
And it is a really particular mentality, and it was not at all what I was expecting. And so I do understand why you would want to write a song about it, and that what you were talking about capturing there, the multiple generations often of bull riders, and how so many of the best bull riders start really, really young on very small calves, but they're still on cows,
It's incredible to watch that. One of the rodeos, I watched this kid walk across the arena at the end, and the bag was bigger than him. He was tiny little tacker, and he like carried this bag all the way across the arena, like didn't look around for help. And I was like, oh, that's that toughness starting young. Like it was, it's pretty cute. And see the little kids dressed up to the nines, it's pretty special.
It is. And it's also I think bull riders actually, even though they don't seem to be too given to public speaking or anything like that, have a lot to teach other people actually. And it's about so many of them I spoke to could really manipulate time in a lot of ways because of what that 8 seconds meant to them, and how they came to understand what it meant, and also what they were prepared to put into their sport.
Yes.
It's
which is themselves like a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like not scared of the injuries ever really either, and almost wear them as a badge. I sort of observed it was like, it's sort of that this is what I've gone through kind of mentality of it not showing weak. I don't know, it's almost a strength. However many times you might have been hurt, you wear that with pride. To a degree.
Completely nerve-wracking watching it though. That's just for me as a spectator, so I can't imagine what it's like when you actually have some skin in the game, so to speak.
It took me by surprise, I think, because I wasn't really thinking that it would be hard to watch, and I think to all the women that do it regularly, I only watched him in a couple rodeos, and I haven't since sought out a bull rider as a partner, but I think about the women who watch their men or their women constantly, and that would, I don't know if it gets easier. I can't imagine it would.
But even things like camp drafting, and when you're watching sports like that,
still a fair bit of risk involved. Same with all of the rodeo sports.
Right. So how long was it after you saw that ride, or after you met Wiley Blue, that you wrote the song?
It definitely it was floating around that weekend. The line, "Everybody Wants to Be a Cowboy," was sort of being thrown around as we watched everyone in town in their crisp Western shirts, because it brings, the weekend in Broome is our race weekend. It's huge, and it brings all these people in that are maybe country folk, station workers, but also just that are there for the rodeo and, you know, dressing the part. And so that sort of line started to be thrown around, and I thought that had a bit of a ring to it, that "Everybody Wants to Be a Cowboy." And it probably was finished after a couple months. I wrote the song. So I never really sat down and was like, I'm going to write this. It just, these lines were floating around, and I remember him saying, like, there's a ring to it, you know, like there's a song in there. So I think it came out quite naturally over a couple months.
Yeah, right.